Speaking of your Steelers, whoa, shots fired today, B-Mac. And this is going at your former head coach, Mike Tomlin. Now, this was courtesy of Terry Bradshaw, four-time Super Bowl champion quarterback from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and some very harsh words for a guy he never played for. Take a listen to Bradshaw.
I don't think he's a great coach at all. He's a nice coach, and to me, I've said this. I've said he's really a great cheerleader guy. I don't know what he does, but I don't think that he's a great coach at all. His name never even pops in my mind when we think about great coaches in the NFL.
How about this coming back from the Steelers communications director? And he says, friendly reminder, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin won a couple Super Bowl, one Super Bowl, 2 appearances, won the AFC North 4 times, is 101-57, and fastest in team history to 100 wins, including Chuck Noll, who was the head coach for Terry Bradshaw's 4 Super Bowl championships in Pittsburgh. First of all, this is kind of like Steeler on Steeler, so I know it's a little bit awkward, but we got a Steeler here. He's got 2 of those rings. You played for this guy, won with this guy. What do you make of what Terry Bradshaw says?
You know what? I don't know if Terry Bradshaw has received information from within the facility that guys are currently involved in the day-to-day dealings with Mike Tomlin. But I know during my time in Pittsburgh, this guy is a very, very knowledgeable guy as a head coach from top to bottom, special teams, offensively, defensively. And to hear that, it's surprising to me because when I was there hands-on with Mike T, I mean, this guy would sit in our meeting room, defensive backs. Of course, he would do the same thing throughout the offensive meeting rooms. And even during our team meeting days, like on a Monday, he would overview everything that happened before. He had an insight about what went wrong offensively, what went right. The same can be said special team-wise and defensively. Of course, he was a defensive-minded head coach coming from Tampa and then D.C. at Minnesota before he was the head coach in Pittsburgh.
Okay, but wait a minute. Now, Terry Bradshaw says, I don't know what he does. He's a great cheerleader. We heard rumblings of this down in Big D in Dallas, and that's why Jared Jones fired Jimmy Johnson, said, I can get anybody in here to coach this team. And he kind of did by getting Barry Switzer to win a Super Bowl with Jimmy's guys.
Yeah.
That's a knock that's saying, hey, you're great at firing the boys up, but what are you actually doing?
Well, one thing I can say, yes, Mike T came into a real good situation because the guys were already assembled there. Bill Cowher. You know, we were 2 years removed from winning a Super Bowl. And then Mike T comes in and he continues to keep that chemistry together. Added a few players here and there. You look at some of the quality draft picks during the Mike Tomlin era that were quality difference makers while he was there. The Lawrence Timmons of the world, the Mike Wallace, the Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, David Castro. You know, all these guys are big-time playmakers and currently still making plays either with the Pittsburgh Steelers or other organizations throughout the NFL. So he has done a tremendous job to get 100 victories. Mind you, this guy has been a head coach for 10 years and never had a losing season. Well, never to be below 500 in 10 years as a head coach. That's impressive.
When you hear somebody of the ilk of Terry Bradshaw, national center stage that he has every Sunday on Fox, right? When he says that about your former coach, does it kind of stir some things up a little bit?
Well, not necessarily. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right? Now, if his statement was based on what he heard, clearly I disagree. If his statement was based on what he see, you still have to disagree because I was in the locker room under Mike Tomlin. When Terry played, Chuck Noll was the head coach. Yep. That would be like an outsider saying something about Chuck Noll. It's hard to say that unless you're getting inside information or you're just throwing out your drastic opinion. And when you put the label on Mike T as a cheerleader, is he saying that because Mike Tomlin has been a guy that he usually is animated on the sideline with his players?
Yeah.
You know, we saw the victory against Cincinnati a week ago. He was dapping, hugging his guys, showing how excited he was to get that victory. That's okay. He's a player's coach. Now, some coaches don't do that.
Chuck Noll never did that.
Yeah, the Bill Belichick's of the world. They don't do those types of things. But Mike Tomlin is cut from a different era, and as a player, you appreciate that because he's involved. And if he wasn't that type of guy, so be it. Every coach coaches the game in a different way. You walk totally different than I do. We don't do the same things. Your viewpoints are totally different. So every coach is not going to do everything the Bill Belichick way or the Seifert way or the Jimmy Johnson way. that is his way, and he loves it, and he has been successful.
Terry doesn't go back to Pittsburgh very often. It'd be interesting if he went back and these two had a conversation.
I can't wait to hear what Mike Tomlin has to say about that statement.
I'm sure this is not the end of that story.